I'm back with another episode for story time. And today we are going to go and read a story about the disturbing deaths of Chris Kramers and Lisa Ann Froome, who went on their La Pianista hike in Panama and disappeared. So sit back, relax, and let me tell you a story. So, two Dutch women named Chris Kramers, who was 21, and Lisa Ann Bloom, age 22, went on a 5 to 6 hour hike near Bouquet, close to the continental divide of Panama, on April 1st, 2014. Chris and Lisa Ann had come to Panama to study Spanish and volunteer to work with children in the community. But their remains were found 2 months later in mysterious circumstances, with the authorities claiming it was an accident, whilst Dutch private investigators working for the family were convinced that there was likely to be foul play involved. Indeed, the Panamanian authorities' explanation had many holes in their theory that the two women had fallen off a cable bridge across a river and were washed away. What happened to the Hollandaises is the subject of much speculation, with disturbing photographic evidence of their last days, including the mysterious missing picture number 509, and plenty of unanswered questions. There have been many theories that have raged across internet forums in the years since their tragic deaths, but for now, the case continues to raise questions despite its official conclusions. So, after saving some time to go on a graduation trip on March 15, 2014, Dutch students Chris Kramers, 21, and Lisa Ann Froome, 22, got on a plane at Amsterdam Airport to travel to Costa Rica in Latin America. From there, the two women headed to Bocas del Toro in Panama. They spent some time on the coast, learning Spanish and enjoying the local food and drink. They met two Dutch tourists who were also visiting the area at the time. 2 weeks after arriving in Panama on March 29th, they headed on to Bouquet, a city on the west side of the country. Bouquet is a small mountain town in Panama, located in the westernmost province of Chiriquí, about 37 miles from the border with Costa Rica. It is situated on the Caldera River in Panama's Green Mountain Highlands because of its elevation, 3,900 feet above sea level. Its climate is cooler than the lowlands. Its scenic location, temperature, and natural environment make it popular with Panamanians and attract tourists and retirees worldwide. Lisa Ann had just graduated with a degree in applied sciences in September 2013, and Chris was studying for a degree in cultural social education. The two women from Amersfoort in the Netherlands met whilst working at the In den Kleinen Hop restaurant in Amsterdam, and they both rented rooms in the same student house. Together they saved 6 months for a trip to Panama for Lisa Ann's graduation celebration. They arrived in Panama on March 15, 2014, for a 6-week vacation, 4 of which were to be spent living with their host family while they worked as volunteers in Bouquet, teaching local children in the school and learning Spanish. But when they arrived at their host family's home, Lisa Ann and Chris were told their jobs would start in 1 week rather than immediately as expected. So they decided to take the time to explore the area around Bouquet whilst they waited for their job to start. Then on April 1st, 2014, They left Boquete in good weather in mid-morning to hike the La Pianista Trail, an up-and-down path, hence the name. They planned to walk to the summit around 8 kilometers from the city, and a taxi dropped them off at the start of the trail. According to the driver, it was mid-afternoon, but the evidence from the lady's camera suggested it was around 11 a.m. It should take a reasonably fit person 2.5 to 3 hours to reach the summit, so it was a 5 to 6 hour round trip. Sorry about that. They posted on Facebook about exploring the area and meeting fellow Dutch travelers for brunch that morning. They took with them a dog from the village and set out. They set out on the walk with light clothing, tank tops and shorts, together with a lightweight backpack containing passports, a water bottle, a Canon PowerShot SX270 digital camera, some money, around $80, and their cell phones, an iPhone and Samsung Galaxy. The area beyond the trail is very rugged, steep, and dangerous, particularly during the April to October wet season, where areas become treacherous and even the indigenous Gobi tribe tread warily. The trail runs from the Chiriqui state into the province of Bocas del Toro, crossing steep river gorges up to 70 feet deep, which need to be crossed using cable bridges. Chris and Lisa Ann reached the summit around 1 p.m., and it seems for some reason they decided to carry on beyond. Typically, tourists turn around at this lookout point at the top of the Pianista Trail to walk the same path back to Boquete. There are signs at this spot nowadays warning people not to keep walking further without a guide because of the treacherous terrain ahead. They had looked the trailhead up on the computer the days before the hike and may have thought they still had time to walk towards a waterfall deeper in the jungle. They were not equipped for a prolonged period in the forest with no food or survival gear. Hikers who plan to go into the more adventurous areas usually pay guides and take specialist equipment and supplies to last for days, including tents, food, and rainproof clothing. Later that evening, on April 1st, the dog's owners were alarmed when their dog returned without any sign of the two women. The women were reported missing 2 days later on April 3rd. After the family they were staying with and a local guide who was due to take them to a national park nearby on April 2nd grew concerned. After they were declared missing, authorities put dog teams on the ground in helicopters, but initial searches proved fruitless, even with the help of local residents. On April 6th, Chris and Lisa Ann's parents and Dutch detectives flew to Boquete and started a larger search with specialized search and rescue teams and sniffer dogs, which went on for a further 10 days. But still nothing. There was no sign of the women or their belongings. The parents also offered a $30,000 reward. Lisa Ann was known to have asthma and complained to her host family of shortness of breath. Her asthma paired with altitude change and panic caused by being lost may have impacted her ability to survive the ordeal. 10 weeks later, in June 2014, a local woman found the backpack in a rice paddy on the bank of the Culebra or Serpent River, near the village of Alto Romero, around 10.5 miles from Boquete and 5 miles from the summit of the La Pianista Trail. It was estimated that it was around an 8-hour walk from their last known location, and the village was in a very remote area, which would have been difficult to reach on foot. Around the same time, Chris Kramer's jean shorts were discovered on a narrow strip of land between two fast-flowing tributaries. The Gobi people who found the shorts said they found them zipped, folded and placed on a rock high above the water. Police from the Justice Department picked up the pack from the woman using a helicopter. They assumed it had drifted to the area in the river, but the backpack contents were dry and undamaged, and the bag looked in good condition despite weeks in the jungle or river. Furthermore, the finder said she was sure the pack was not in the location the day before. Heavy rain had hit the area in the prior few weeks, so it would be expected that everything would be soaking wet, suggesting it had been placed there before its discovery by persons unknown. Lisa Ann's Asmund Hiller was not among the belongings recovered. Investigators determined that the belongings had 34 different fingerprints, with 13 on the bag. DNA was also detected on the backpack contents, but none led to any serious leads for the police. A key piece of evidence was the discovery of Lisa Ann's Canon PowerShot SX270 camera with over 100 images on the digital memory card, in addition to the passports, cell phones, sunglasses, cash, and their bras when the contents of the backpack were searched. There were 133 consecutive photos found, with only one mystery shot missing, image number 509. The camera has no GPS location option, so investigators could only establish or guess the location of the photos based on the surroundings that were visible to them. The first pictures on April 1st were standard tourist shots with both women laughing and smiling on a bright sunny day, with some selfies taken at the overlook of the divide. Most of the pictures are taken by Lisa Ann, with Chris walking ahead of her on the trail. Then we see the girls following an indigenous trail near a creek or stream bed, heading downhill, away from their destination, Boquete. Chris's face in one of the shots shows anxiety with sunset around 6:40 in the rainforest. Image number 508 is the last photo taken by Lisa Ann and Chris, but there are two versions of photo number 508. One shows in its metadata that it was taken 8 seconds after 5:07, but another version of the same photo states that this last photo of Chris looking backwards was taken 50 seconds before the previous photo of her passing the creek. This anomaly could be photo manipulation by someone. No more daytime photos were made on April 1st after the last stream picture, number 508, so maybe they tried to return to Boquete at this point, but were intercepted. Dutch specialists have tried to undelete the missing photo, which usually is not a challenge. When an image is manually deleted because pressing the delete button does not mean the whole file is erased. However, experts failed to recover the missing photo, and it would be impossible for the camera to skip a number by accident when shooting pictures. Did somebody connect the camera to a computer and erase the photo to make it irretrievable? Perhaps the girls manually deleted this specific photo, and the subsequent images have permanently overwritten the deleted file. But when new pictures overwrite a manually deleted photo, there is often generally at least a fraction of the deleted photo found, and to find no trace is sus or puzzling at least. It is plausible that the Panamanian authorities took photo number 509 off the camera because something was on it that they didn't want the outside world to see. Maybe its content was at odds with the controversial accident scenario that the Panamanian police put forward as the leading theory. Will the picture ever turn up? Dutch investigators were almost sure that someone deliberately deleted number 509 permanently for reasons unknown, probably with the help of a computer, since it is between the normal daytime photos of April 1st and the mysterious night photos of April 8th, it could be a vital picture. Of all the holiday photos the two women made on their holiday, investigators did not find any deleted photos. In addition, the memory card had plenty of space left. The emergency services call started around this time. Coincidence, maybe, but probably not. The Travel Channel's Lost in the Wild Hike into Hell featured the disappearance of Chris and Lisa Ann. The presenters Kinga Phillips and J.J. Kelly showed simply that if Chris and Lisa Ann had removed photo number 509 manually any time before the first nighttime photo was made, it would have never even known that it had been deleted because the following photo, the first nighttime photo, would have automatically received photo number 509. The strangest pictures on the camera, and perhaps of most interest, were 90 photos taken on April 8th between 1 and 4, many in complete darkness, with rain falling, and some were taken a few seconds apart, and others up to 15 minutes later. Several shots appear to have been taken deliberately as they were not blurred, indicating that they were not taken under duress. At this point, the girls had been in the rainforest for a week. Some internet sleuths have speculated that the women were trying to use the camera as a light source in the pitch black, or perhaps to signal potential rescuers, or even to scare away wild animals. But analysis of the shots shows that many are taken below foliage and not in the open, and if the girls were trying to attract attention, they would have taken the pictures in the open. There was a single close-up that showed a wound to the right side of Chris's head in the temple area and blood on her hair. Lisa Ann may have been using the camera to offer clues to subsequent rescuers where Chris was if she needed to be left behind because of injuries. Some of the shots appear to be orientated upwards, while others show ravines and gorges and even man-made structures, most likely to be cable bridges. These bridges are very dangerous, especially in the rain. One photo seems to show a bridge 3 miles from Boquete on the western bank of a tributary that forms the headwaters of the Culebra River. Were the girls trying to follow the river downstream, as advocated by many survival guides? We don't know. Analysis of the call records of the iPhone owned by Chris showed her trying to reach an emergency services number in the Netherlands at 4:39 p.m. on the day that they went missing, April 1st, using the Dutch emergency number 112. This was followed by a call to a Panamanian emergency number using 911. Due to poor reception, their calls weren't connected. The Dutch number 112 also works in Panama, and if not, automatically transfers to the emergency number of the country the phone network is in. They subsequently turned their phones off and tried calling 14 hours later, several times on April 2nd. Both phones were used to make these calls, and on one of these calls they actually made a connection at 6:58 a.m. Lisa Ann's Samsung connected for just 1 to 2 seconds on the 112 number, but the call quickly failed, and 36 seconds later, the phone was again switched off. They never managed to get a connection again, despite trying several times. On April 6, 5 days after their hike began, Lisa Ann's Samsung mobile phone stopped working, presumably because the battery went dead. And then Chris's iPhone was turned off until April 11th and was activated once again at 10:51 and stayed on for 1 hour and 5 minutes. And this was the last time the iPhone was used. On day 6, when Lisa Ann's Samsung battery had failed, someone had tried to access Chris's iPhone, but the PIN was incorrectly entered. The code was 0556. It is claimed that 77 attempts were made to access the phone between April 7th and the 10th. Following the discovery of the backpack, a local guide, with the help of 6 native Gobi people, found bone remains, jean shorts, and 2 different shoes along the river Rio Culebra, shortly after June 19, 2014. The jean shorts were found 14 hours of walking distance from the backpack on top of a rock on the opposite side bank of the river, at least 8 walking hours away from Boquete. Some witnesses claimed that they in fact found the jean shorts not neatly folded at all but floating in the river itself. The bone remains were found on June 19th behind a tree in the vicinity of Alto Romero and away from the river. Lisa Ann Froom's left foot was found intact, and inside her wildebeest boot, showing multiple fractures of the metatarsals. DNA tests later confirmed a match. The laces were still left tightly laced, and it also had a sock inside the boot. The foot still had some skin and flesh on it. The shoe with the foot was found upstream. Forensic analysis found that the cut off the bone of the foot was surprisingly clean and that no blood was found on it, but there were no signs of cutting, hacking, gunshots, teeth, or claw marks. At least 33 scattered bones, mainly from a left leg, were also discovered along the same riverbank, a few miles from the cable bridge and dry river stones where some investigators think the nighttime photos may have been taken. Very few other remnants were found, and the ones retrieved were found scattered, sometimes miles apart from one another, but all following the direction of the river. One half of a pelvic bone was also found, part broken, which was identified as Chris's. Later, Chris's number 10 right rib bone was also found, as well as a femur upper leg bone from Lisa Ann and possibly her tibia bone. A rolled-up ball of skin from Lisa Ann's shin was also located by investigators sometimes later, on August 29, 2014. The forensic pathologist later found that the skin was still in an early stage of decomposition, even containing maggots. In contrast with Chris's fully bleached and clean bones, the pathologist also discovered that the bone marrow in Lisa Ann's femur and tibia bones proved dry and undecomposed. The bone marrow was intact and unaltered. The forensic pathologist speculated that someone may have manipulated the piece of skin because they thought this was really strange. Initially, neither the Dutch nor the Panamanian forensic teams could provide a cause of death, with the official theory from the Panamanian authorities being that the women both fell off a monkey bridge and were washed away by the raging water. The Dutch police concluded that the deaths were likely an accident, but some of the Panamanian police and Dutch private investigators strongly believed that the deaths could have been foul play, and given some of the strange evidence found. The case was first officially declared a homicide and a crime against personal integrity by Panama's Attorney General in the Chiriqui Judicial State Report. Still later, in October 2014, 2 forms from the Panamanian state officials described the deaths as a case of abduction. When Panamanian forensic teams failed to come to a definitive and official conclusion, the case was closed and considered an accident. They believed that Lisa Ann and Chris decided to continue into the wild terrain in the Continental Divide region and succumb to the jungle. According to officials, it was a simple case of being lost, and Chris fell first. Lisa Ann tended to her, then photographed her remains in the dark, and continued until she also fell, broke her ankle and foot, and perhaps fell into the river and died from exhaustion, hunger, and the elements. However, Dutch pathologist Dr. Frank van de Voet was skeptical of this explanation. He said, "There is no way to get lost. You actually don't need a guide." Regarding the official theory that the girls fell off a monkey bridge and they were washed away, he said, "No way. They would have never even gone on it." Concerning the strange nighttime pictures on the camera, Van de Voet said, "Yes, I saw them. They are creepy. They're like the Blair Witch Project. The part of the jungle out there is known by the guides as a jungle hell. Past the Continental Divide, people die up here. When you are out there in daylight, there is no problem. But when you are out there in the dark, it's game over. You haven't seen the cable bridges. I'm a mountaineer. You're full mortal on that bridge. It appears at first sight that both women died because of the brutal and dangerous conditions in the Panamanian jungle. But was there something more sinister at play here? For a start, it was strange that one of their bags was found some distance from the river without water damage. But if foul play was involved, why weren't the valuables stolen? Maybe a rapist or a murderer just wanted to taunt the authorities, or they came across drug traffickers. It is a sad case, with a terrible last few days for Lisanne and Chris in their Panamanian adventure that was meant to be a trip of a lifetime. Who erased the data from Lisanne Hume's camera and why? What happened to picture number 509? Why won't the Panamanian national authorities release the girls' complete autopsies? Why haven't they followed up on the leads produced by their own forensic examiners, the Sharifli police force, and local reporters, or launched a thorough investigation into other unsolved deaths and missing person cases in the same area? Why do we not know whose fingerprints were on the digital camera and the phones? We need to know who made the last phone calls to 911 and 112. Fingerprint analysis could help with that. Or how about the water bottle and its contents? Were the water molecules found in the small plastic water bottle from supermarket quality water? Or was it water from a local river or local tap water? Perhaps that was last in it. Why were there no DNA samples taken from the possible saliva remnants? The girls had warned other youngsters in Bocas del Toro not to venture out alone without a guide, and they were known to be meticulous planners, so why did they decide to go out alone on a wilderness hike? Perhaps because it is just a pleasant day hike, or were they not alone at all? No one will ever know. And that's the end of our story tonight. Thank you guys for listening in, and I hope you have a nice night. Enjoy the story. Bye.